Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Paul, 42 years old, currently living in South Korea. And today I've got a little bit of a different video for you. I want to share an experience I had from the age of 12 to the age of 20 years old. I used to live in a country house in Scotland, and okay, there's nothing really strange about that, right? But what I experienced in that house was definitely eerie. I experienced some sort of presence. I felt like I experienced some sort of paranormal activity in those 8 years. And what I'm going to share with you in this video might surprise quite a few of you, but I promise you it's nothing but the truth. My mum and dad had a room here, my brother was here, my sister was here, hallway, kitchen, hallway, Paul's room. It was a wonderful country house. It was peaceful, we had no neighbours, and it was huge, massive bungalow with a huge garden. So I was pretty excited to go here, but I was not excited by what I saw when I arrived. My room was on the opposite side of the house, and at 12 years old, as a youngest, it was quite scary. Now, the very first night in that house, what I experienced was something that should have kind of gave me, a look into the future, right? I was getting ready for bed that night, and as I was lying in my bed with the bedroom door closed and my hallway light on, I heard footsteps coming directly from the kitchen to my hallway. Now, when you are 12 years old and you're in the country and it's very, very quiet, you start to question yourself. Is it in my mind? Am I just imagining things? What is going on here? So I jumped out of bed and put my ear up against the door, and I can hear the footsteps getting closer and closer and closer until they stop right outside my door. So whatever that was right at the other side of that door as my ear was up against it. Now, in those days, my dad liked to joke and play with me sometimes, so I'm thinking, it's my dad, right? What is he doing, man? Why is he trying to scare me? But I'm going to get him. And so once I got the courage to open that door and jump out and get him, which I did, and I shouted, "Got you," I was met with utter horror because, to my surprise, there was nothing. Nothing in front of me, nothing behind me, just silence. Complete silence. And so at that age of 12 years old, I somehow had the brains to go into my room, grab my cover, grab my pillow, and run at full speed through the hallway, through the kitchen, through the other hallway, and sleep in the TV room for the first 3 nights. Now, that is the part that I've explained so far on this channel. What I want to explain now is the rest, okay? I stayed there for 8 years. Now, we left that house for reasons that I'll explain at the end of this video. So, not only was I, in the first 3 nights, experiencing something really, really scary, but people in my family didn't believe me, okay? My mom and dad didn't believe what I was saying. They were just saying, look, it's just the noises, it's just the country house. One of the things that I noticed as well in the first few weeks of living in that room was there was scratch marks. There was scratch marks all over the door handle area. But the strange thing was, these scratch marks were not outside of the room, they were on the inside of the door. So I was thinking to myself, why would something be scratching to escape my room? So I was thinking maybe it was like a dog or something, or a pet that the previous owners had. That's the only explanation I can have, right? It's not going to be a human. Why the hell would a human be scratching at the door to get out? That was my room at the age of 12. Now, next to my room, we had something called the good room. Now, if you were born in the 80s and were maybe brought up and, going through your teenage years in the 90s, maybe you also had something called a good room in your house. A good room is full of furniture that basically is expensive, pretty new, and that your parents don't want to use, right? I never understood this. Like, why would you spend so much money on these things and not use it? So that room always lay empty, and it was never occupied by anyone because people were not allowed to go in it. Now, my side of the house was always really, really cold. Their side of the house was always warm and toasty. That's another sign of things to come. Fast forward a little bit more, I was explaining to my mom and dad that I'm really lonely, I need some company, and thankfully for me, they got a little dog. And we got a little miniature schnauzer. Lovely, lovely dogs. This little guy was called Charlie. He had a big beard, and he was basically like a brother to me in that house because we grew up together. Now, Charlie loved to sleep in a box. It was a cardboard box on its side with some bedding and a pillow and a cover, so he was warm enough as well. And he loved to have that protection of the roof and the sides as he lay in that box. And his little box was placed at the end of the kitchen close to my hallway to give me some company. So I started feeling a bit better. And if I heard noises, I would always just think, oh, it's Charlie, right? So it gave me a reason to not think of anything worse. But often when I was in my room at night time, in those days I had a PC. I was lucky to get a PC. And I was playing Football Manager, Championship Manager on the PC. And if I wasn't sleeping, I would leave my room door open with the hall light on because I knew Charlie was there. So I'm playing this game, right? My back's against the door, facing the door, and I'm facing the window at the other side of my room. And often when I'm playing this late at night at 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. in the morning, because in those days, my parents were at the other side of the house. No one was controlling me. I could go to bed when I wanted. I would see these black flashes, like shadows going zoom, zoom, straight past my back. And so obviously you see out the corner of your eye, you turn around and you're like, the hell was that, right? I'm imagining things. You're questioning yourself. And often when I was laying in my bed at night in those days with the room door closed and the hallway light on, I would hear noises, right? I'd always hear noises like there's something out in that hallway. There's something there. So I'm thinking, maybe it's Charlie. Charlie! I'm calling Charlie like 3 or 4 times. And eventually I hear Charlie coming out of his box and walking to my door. So I know it's not Charlie. And as soon as I open my door and I see Charlie, he's shaking. He looks scared. He's cold. And often when I would go past Charlie in his box at night time, if I'm going to the bathroom, which was opposite my room, I would go and check on him and he'd be shaking in his box. So dogs sense things that we can't. And obviously if I'm sensing things, he's sensing it maybe 10 or 100 times more. I could feel energy. I didn't feel like I could, connect with spiritual energy, but I was definitely experiencing things that I didn't want to. Now I'm going to fast forward now, okay, to the age of 17. So this is 5 years later. Whatever was in that house, I felt like it accepted me, okay? This might sound strange in a YouTube video, but I felt like it was okay with me. Up until those days, I felt like there was a spirit in that house. I certainly felt like there was something there, but it was more like a kind of playful spirit. It wasn't causing me any direct harm. It wasn't physically contacting me, and I didn't feel like really scared, right? I just felt really uneasy and uncomfortable, but I didn't feel really, really scared until around the age of 17. And at the age of 17, I started dating. I passed my driving test, and I would often bring my girlfriend up to my house. And this is where things would take a turn for the worse. Now, my only way to explain this was whatever was in that house at that time accepted me, but it did not accept something else with me. And when I started bringing my girlfriend up, I got the sense that this spirit that was playful was not alone. And at that time, I felt a more sinister, darker energy in the house. And my girlfriend in particular was absolutely petrified of coming to my house. But obviously, it's my house, I'm her boyfriend, so she had to come. I would often drive her up to my house, right? Now, because I lived in the country, there was no lights in the country road that I would take up to my house. So it's very dark at night time. When you arrive at my home, there was a huge parking area at the front where I'd park the car and you'd walk into a little porch area, a wooden porch before you went into the front door. She was petrified of this porch, and I always got the feeling of being uneasy because you always felt like something was running behind you as soon as you got to that door. So you were often as fast as you could getting those keys out to open that front door, but obviously nothing's there. Once we got into my house, she's through the kitchen. She never wanted to be alone in that side of the house. Always right beside me, always with Charlie. And when she was in my room, some nights she was just almost like Charlie. She was shaking on the bed, and I'm just like, calm down, it's okay. But one night in particular, I won't forget, we're sitting watching a movie, right? I've got those lights on in the hallway. Charlie's in his bed. My door's closed. Now, I could stay up late, like I said, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Now, she wasn't allowed to stay over back then at 17, so I'd have to take her home. Now, I had a little air vent at the very top left-hand side of my bedroom wall. And because I had the light on in the hallway, that air vent would shine a light through to my bedroom. And on that particular night, as we heard those footsteps, we seen darkness go past that vent. That was the scariest thing that I seen up until that stage. She was hiding behind me. She was grabbing onto me saying, what the hell are we going to do? And I'm like, look, just relax. I've been here for years, so I'm kind of accustomed to it. This is kind of usual for me. Again, I got out of bed. I'm up against that door. I'm not opening that door. And I'm hearing the footsteps. But these footsteps are a little bit louder, a little bit deeper. a little bit more obvious. Like, this thing's not hiding itself anymore. Again, it's right outside my door. And I don't know why, but at this point, I'm not opening the door because I know it's not my dad. Okay, I've experienced this before. But me and my girlfriend, I took a step back at that point. I'm sitting in my bed and we are literally staring. I'm looking at the bottom of the doorway because I can see shadow at the bottom of the door where the light's supposed to come through. And I'm staring at that door handle. And I'm thinking to myself, Paul, if that door handle moves, man, right now, I'm going to die inside. Like, I can't face that. And now I'm shouting Charlie at this point. Eventually, my little dog gets out that box and walks up to that room. So when I hear Charlie, I've got the courage to open that door, and I did. Nothing there. Absolutely nothing. At this point, my girlfriend's wanting to go home. She's begging to go home. So I'm leaving my bedroom light on like I always do when I take her home. I'm leaving the hallway light on. I'm leaving the kitchen light on. Everyone's asleep. Into the car. I take her home. Right, it's about 10 minutes down the lane to her house in the town that was local. As I drew back up to my house alone, I am met with a dark house. Okay, so I'm in the driveway. I'm in my car. I'm not getting out because my room light is off. The hallway room light is off, and the kitchen light is off. Now I know my mum and dad are sleeping, my brother's sleeping, my sister's sleeping. And also, no one's going through that side of the house. They don't have the courage for that. So I'm thinking, I better call her. Now back in those days, we had this brick for a cell phone, right? So I'm calling her. I'm saying, we left those lights on, right? Because I'm always questioning myself. Yeah, we left those lights on for sure. Are those lights off? I'm like, those lights are off. She's like, don't go in, don't go in. I'm like, I have to go in. I have to get some sleep. Paul gets the courage, right? I'm out of the car. I'm running towards that front door. The porch door's closed. I can feel things behind me, but I'm getting my keys straight in the house. And instead of me walking strong and tough into that kitchen, I'm like leaning at the side of the door, putting my arm through, click. Oh, feeling better. The kitchen light's on. I'm walking through. Charlie's in his box. I'm putting the hallway light on. Charlie's shaking in his box. Happy to see me, and I'm happy to see him. And then I go through to that hallway and put my bedroom light on. At that point, I'm thinking to myself, Paul, 100% you're not alone here. There are things in this house. And you know what? They've turned your lights off. They're scaring your dog and they're scaring you. This would happen 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. It would keep happening to the point where it just became normal. Now, I'm going to take you to one of the most shocking things that I experienced in that house. And this is probably the climax of all of these little activities that happened before. I will never forget this until the day I die, everybody. When you experience paranormal activity, okay, you never forget it. But not only do you never forget it, you don't usually talk about it too much because most people's reaction to you is, look, ghosts aren't real, okay? It's not scientifically proven. You're talking rubbish, right? You're making it up. It's your imagination. I don't tell lies, everybody. What I'm saying is the truth. This is what I experienced. Now, am I going to sit here and tell you it's paranormal activity? I don't know. I'm just going to tell you it's unexplained, okay? But it's energy in that house. Let me explain what happened to me one of the final nights in my room. This was probably about 6 or 7 months before we left that house. I woke up in the middle of the night to the feeling of something full force slapping me straight across the forehead. Full force, bang! So I'm up in my bed. Obviously the door's closed, the lights are off, the hallway light is still on at that point. And I'm like, what the hell? What the hell? My breathing's really deep, I'm panicking, I'm scared. I've never felt that feeling of getting slapped in the head before when I wake up. So I'm straight under my covers. Now, I'm not a religious guy, everybody, but I'm saying prayers at that point for my life. You know, please let me to survive to the next morning. Please, please let me survive. And I must have fallen asleep because I woke up the next morning and I was desperate to tell my mum and dad what happened to me last night. As I went through to that kitchen, my mum was already there and she was like, Paul, and I'm like, Mum. She's like, I've got something to tell you. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute, I've got something to tell her, but let's go first, you. And she said, a funny thing happened to me last night. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell? A funny thing happened to me last night as well. And she said, I got woken up during the night by Charlie barking and growling. And so she came through the kitchen and she thought to herself, maybe he needs the bathroom. So she takes him outside, right? She's standing at the back door. We had a huge garden. So Charlie goes outside and does his business. As my mum was waiting for Charlie to go outside and come back inside, she was in her nightgown. She felt something tug her nightgown really hard and pull it from behind. Now you can imagine it, like 2 a.m, 3 a.m. in the morning, pitch black. She turns round. She got the fright of her life because absolutely nothing was there. This is the first time she's ever experienced that in that house. Now when she told me that, my jaw dropped to the floor, because what I was about to tell her happened on the same night. I said, you know what, Mum? This is no word of a lie. Last night, I felt like something slapped me directly on my forehead. I woke up in my bed and I went straight under my covers begging for my life. That's physical, okay? Physical contact twice in the same night. My mum and my dad had a meeting the next day with my brother, sister and me, and we decided to put the house on the market. We decided to sell that house because of these reasons. Now, not only that, in the kitchen, when you walk directly in the kitchen, my dad was a fan of antique furniture. And he bought this specific piece of antique furniture, which my mum did not like. It was really dark wood, okay? Now this thing, ever since it came in our house, which is probably maybe the second or third year of us moving in there, I always felt like something was watching me in that house. And as soon as you walk through that kitchen, it felt like something was clocking you, right? And every single move you make, it was there. And it was watching your every single move. That's what it felt like. And after we decided to sell this house, my mum started telling me the truth, okay? Oh yeah, finally, let's tell our youngest son the truth about where he's been sleeping for the past 8 years. She used to tell me late at night when she was washing dishes in that kitchen, she would feel really, really uncomfortable. And she always felt like something was watching her in that house. Whenever she was through my side of the house, she always felt cold, and she always felt like she had to get out of there as soon as possible. This is where I slept for 8 years, everybody, on my own. Remember the first 3 nights when I was living in that house, right? I ran through to that TV room and I slept there because I was petrified of what was going to happen to me. I heard those footsteps and I knew something was there. Let's fast forward to the final 3 nights. That week building up to the final 3 nights, I had this terrible, terrible feeling. And it was getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And the atmosphere through there was getting darker and darker and darker. There was definitely a playful spirit in that house, in my opinion. There was definitely this dominating, dark, sinister being in that house as well. And there was also some sort of spirit connected to that piece of antique furniture watching everybody walk in that kitchen. And I honestly had this feeling, call it a gut feeling, call it your intuition, call it whatever you want, premonition. I felt like something was going to happen to me in those final 3 nights. And so I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to do what I did at the very start. And I slept those final 3 nights in the TV room. And I'm so happy to this day that I did, because I was not taking my chances through in that room. Charlie slept with me, by the way, in the TV room for the final 3 nights. Now, the final day when we're moving, obviously we're packing everything up, we're getting ready to go. My aunt was there, my mum was there. There was a loft on top of that hallway and bedroom that I used to live in. And my mum and my aunt were saying, Paul, could you go up there and see if there's anything up there, because we can't get up there. So I'm like, okay, right. I'm kind of brave at this point. I'm almost 18 years old. So I go up there, and what I saw was a box, and in that box was a Christmas tree. So I'm like, there's a Christmas tree here, Mum. But then when I looked up, what I saw was the strangest thing I've ever seen to this day. You could see the structure of the ceiling up there because you're in the loft, right? So there's wooden beams everywhere like this. And all across these beams that go across the roof, there was these little nooses everywhere. A piece of rope with a loop at the bottom, but there was like about 100 of these all over it. And as soon as I called downstairs to my mum and my aunt, I said, you're not going to believe what I can see right now. I can see like a bunch of nooses up here. And they're like, before even thinking, they're like, Paul, get down right now. So I come straight down those stairs. That was the last time I ever stepped foot in that house. So there you go. That was my experience in the country house. Now what I want to say to you is, folks, if you've ever experienced something like this, I would love you to share this with me in the comments, because I don't know too many people that have experienced stuff that I've experienced. I've seen it firsthand. I've lived in it. I've felt it for me, I did not see any ghost. I don't believe you're going to see a ghost, but I do believe in energy. Negative energy, positive energy. Whatever energy was there, I was picking it up at all times. Now, I'll tell you this, okay? I have moved house maybe 5 or 6 times since that house, and I have never experienced anything like that ever again. So nothing followed me from that house, and I'm really, really thankful for that. I feel like from that experience, I'm a person now that can pick up on energy from people and from places. If I walk into a room, wherever I am in this world, I can feel instantly energy, okay? Now I can feel if that energy is good, if that energy is bad, if that energy is positive, negative. I feel like I know if something's happened in that place. It's the same with people. Now I'm not judging people, but I feel instantly without talking to someone, I can feel their energy and I can pick up on whether they're a good person or someone I don't really have to care about. So when my kids get scared in my current place in South Korea, and I have absolutely no feeling about that place, I can tell them firsthand, there's nothing here, girls. Trust me, Daddy knows. Me and my mum still talk about it to this day on some occasions because it's quite a good topic of conversation when you're having a coffee, especially when we're talking on the phone. At one point a few years ago, I was really curious to research the history of that house, just to put a face, you know, to the spirits that I think are in there. And I was about to do it, and then my mum had a little conversation with me, and she's like, Paul, it's probably not worth rocking the boat. Nothing's followed you from that house. Whatever's in that house is still in that house. Just let it be. You know what? I fully agree with her. I don't want to rock any boats. I don't want to ever experience that again in my life because, yeah, I wouldn't wish that on anybody, especially someone as young as 12 years old at the time on the opposite side of the house of their family. Listen, thanks for listening to me today, folks. It's a pleasure as always. That is my video of my real experience growing up in a haunted country house for 8 years of my life. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.